the idea of opening a restaurant actually is my childhood dream. I've been, dreaming about this ever since I, cooked first, dish, and no one ever taught me how to cook it. I always used to watch my mother, how she, made this, different dishes, and she used to kick me out from the kitchen, saying that I take a lot of room there. But I always was interested, to see how she was making all these things. And then one day I told her, "Mom, let me make this dish." And she said, "Are you kidding?" I said, "No, I want to try." So it was success. And then I just loved cooking. I enjoy cooking, and I love when I cook something and people like it. It gives me a lot of pleasure. So I used to dream about that. But I always thought that it was a dream. There are some things that you think that you can never, make them happen. And then at some point, 2 years ago, I thought, life is passing by and I should try to fulfill some of my dreams. And one of them was opening a restaurant. And the location is perfect in London. I knew that there were only a few other Georgian restaurants. And thanks to my partner, who was very supportive, Zura, I just, decided to do it. So I resigned from my job and started looking for the premises. I did not know anything about this business, but cooking, the restaurant business. So I had to learn something. So during the year I tried to work as a waiter or washing dishes in a couple of different restaurants for a few weeks in different ones to see what was happening inside and whether it was possible for me to fulfill my dream. And I thought, if you want to do something very much, you just have to do it. And that's how I opened it.
Wonderful. Now, have you had trouble getting ingredients in London in order to cook authentic Georgian food?
Well, there are some ingredients that you can't really have them in London, so we usually bring them from Georgia, particularly spices that we use in different starters and some main dishes. And there's one plum sauce, very particular one, that you can't possibly have it here, so we bring that from Georgia as well. Other than that, it is possible to adjust everything and adapt to the local market and environment. Yeah, not a lot.
And who designed your restaurant for you?
Oh, my partner designed it. Actually, we did it in house. We were trying. I mean, if you have to know, if we painted this hall 5 times, putting wallpaper, taking them off, then not liking them, and then redoing things, so taking floors off, then putting another one. So we just wanted to get it something that we wanted, but it was in our heads. So we didn't have any professional designer. So we did it ourselves. But thanks to my partner Zura, he did it actually. It's his credit.
Have you felt that you needed to modify Georgian recipes to make them more in accordance with English tastes, or have you just stayed strictly with what you would be cooking if you were back home?
Right. Not necessarily. I mean, my desire was to open the authentic Georgian restaurant and not to modify any dishes, because I wanted people to know what exactly the Georgian, cuisine is all about. I mean, there are a few other restaurants I mentioned, and they try to, adjust to the local, market and use rice in, some cases, and rice is not really the thing that we use in our cuisine. So I felt very strongly that I would not really allow, to be honest, to do something like that. So no, we did not modify anything. The only thing that we had to modify is the way we serve, because in Georgia, I mean, you don't just order one dish and sit and eat it. You just have to have full of table of different starters and then different main courses, and you just have little bits and pieces from everything. So it was a bit difficult, to adjust to the local, environment in terms of that. But we managed to do this as well. If we serve main dish, we always try to bring with some salad, and that's to balance, meat with some vegetables. And instead of rice that many other restaurants try to use, we bake our bread here, because in Georgia you eat all main dishes with bread. So that's my answer.
Yes, the cheese bread that you've made is absolutely spectacular. I imagine that's one of the more popular things that you serve.
It is very popular, yes, I have to say. And in terms of your question, about modifying, we didn't have to modify anything, but it was very hard to come up with the exact recipe I cheese, what kind of cheese we
The
use.
particular kind of cheese.
Because in Georgia you usually use one type of cheese for that, and it's very easy. You just go to the market and buy it. It's like very fresh, we call it baby cheese. But here it's not possible to have that kind of cheese, so it took me like years, to come up with the recipe, and we use several types of cheese, like mixing together in order to get to the, very close,
So
almost similar taste.
you've created a sort of a simulacrum of the cheese that you would
Yeah,
have.
well, we can say it. Actually, many Georgians are very surprised when they try our cheese bread, because they always ask, where do you get this cheese? Because it is only in Georgia. And, well, I said it's not Georgian, it's local, but we managed to get this recipe. Right.
It has inside the bread. It has a very runny sort of texture. In terms of texture, not unlike an Italian mozzarella, for instance.
No.
I know it isn't, but I just not the flavor, but the way that the runny texture of it inside the bread.
Well, if you want me to tell you what kind of cheese we use there, I can't, because I can tell you we use 3 different types of mixes.
I'm not asking for a recipe.
Yeah, it's a secret. But with a proportion, because you have to have the right proportion in order to have this kind of runny feeling and very soft and light and not heavy, not very salty. Something that you have to come up with. So we managed to get to that point. But we do use 3 different cheeses in like cheese bread. So I can tell you that.
Your recipes in general are those that have been most popular with your diners here. To what extent are they the same recipes that you would expect to be the most popular if you were serving them in Georgia? How do the tastes, the national tastes compare?
Well,
in that way?
actually very, very similar. I would say sometimes even better, because many Georgians say about some dishes that, this dish is even better than in Georgia. In particular the cheese bread, we get lots of compliments from Georgians, and if you get a compliment from Georgia, about dishes that you serve in the restaurant in London, then it is a real compliment and not something, diplomatic, out of politeness. But they're very similar, sometimes even better. There is one thing though, this, products, vegetables, they don't taste the same here as in Georgia, for a very simple reason, because in Georgia we don't use lots of chemicals, in order to grow vegetables, and they're actually organic, like we call it here. So we try to use similar organic type, vegetables most of the time, only, if we just have to rush, last minute, shopping and get something in the local supermarket, only in that case, but we always try to, stick to the, natural organic taste, because, let's say tomatoes, if you try tomatoes in Georgia, you will really know what real taste of tomato is.
Well, so many of the vegetables that you buy in this country aren't grown in this country, unless you go to farmers markets.
Yeah, we do try to go, to our big, talking of vegetables and meat and everything on big markets. There is a vegetable market, there is a meat market. But yes, of course, one of the beauty of this country and many European countries, that you can have any type of vegetable, herbs and anything every time, 12 months, which is not, similar in Georgia. Let's say one of our best-selling main dishes, chakapuli, which is a spicy lamb in wine and tarragon sauce. Tarragon is only available in Georgia in spring, so you only cook this dish in spring. Here you can have it, anytime you want. So that's the beauty, about this country.
Oh, wonderful. Well, how long have you been open?
We have been open for about 6 months, slightly, around 6 months. Yeah.
And have you had enough diners to encourage you that you're going to be able to continue?
Oh, that's a good question, actually. First of all, it is my dream. So, one of my friends came here and she said, "Don't give up." I said, "You can't give up on a dream, can you? You just have to keep doing that." But secondly, I know that it's going to succeed because, as you can actually witness, Georgian cuisine is very different from any other cuisine. And dishes are very different. Everyone who comes here, once, they come again. They just have to come here. So what we have to do is just do a lot of marketing, just let people to come in and then try, and then, our dishes talk for themselves. So no, I did not actually. There are some depressing days, I have to say, because first of all we opened in the worst time ever, when everything was going down, and people around were very surprised. I mean, you should be crazy to be opening a restaurant. This credit crimes or worse, period. But we had to open because we worked like for a year, even more, to launch this business. And there are some days that we are completely full. There are some days that we don't have a single customer, I have to say. But you have to live with optimism and with a faith in future and with a faith of the cuisine, because it is really something incredible. And I believe if people try it, they will love it.